Hello, I am very excited to walk you through the Fred Socials Limited company data analysis and spreadsheet skills scenario. So let's kick off. So we've got a new customer called Fred, and you'll be able to go into the scenario here. Your dashboard probably looks a bit different to mine because I've got lots and lots going on here as we're building Hey Monica out. But it says, congratulations, we have won a new client. And on the next page, we're going to find out a little bit about him. So I'm just going to restart because I have been through this scenario lots of times. But what happens on the first page is it tells us a little bit about Freddie. Freddie Nichols, he owns a business called Fred Socials. There's a video where Freddie tells us a little bit about his business. He tells us that he runs a copywriting agency, but he also resells a software that does social media creation. He has been a freelance copywriter. He was made redundant, and now his business has been growing through Google Ads and his TikTok profile. And his software is the main stream of revenue in his business. So he needs some help with his bookkeeping, but most importantly, there's some data about where his customers are coming from and how much they're spending and which advertising to focus on to grow the business that he really needs more information with. And that's what you're going to be helping with. Okay, so we click next, and this takes us into the dashboard. This is where we do all of our work. So on the left-hand side, we've got the questions that we're going to work through. There are 5 different sections of this scenario. In the middle here, we have the question. There's a few things on the right here. If we need any help, we can click here, and this is where we can chat with Monica if we've got questions, or we can find any help documents or training videos. There's a document vault where the customer shares paperwork with us when we've requested it. There's the client profile where we can go back and remind ourselves of what he's all about. And we can also speak to the client if we've got a question, and we can ask him for paperwork and things like that. So let's kick off. So welcome to the scenario. What legal structure does his business take? Well, we know, and we can check if we need to. He's a limited company, right? It told us that he is running Fred Socials Limited. So I'm happy that that's a limited company, and I'm going to move on. In this scenario, I've been asked to analyse sales trends for his white-labelled software through his customer report. The report shows a list of customers and data about their software subscriptions. Ask Freddie to provide the customer report as a CSV file and then open this in Excel. Each row of the spreadsheet represents an individual customer record. How many unique customers appear in the report? So I'm going to speak to the client and say, hi, Freddie. Please, could you send me your customer report? He's retrieved the report, and it's now in the document vault. So it's the customer report here. This will be empty until you request documentation. I've been through this scenario before, which is why you can see there are other documents. So the report is there for me. So I'm going to just download it. Downloads the CSV to my computer. I need to open in Excel. I'm going to Excel, File, Open, and it's this one, Customer Report. Open it up, and then it's put that information into my spreadsheet. I'm just going to save it as a spreadsheet rather than a CSV file, so I've got all the functionality. And here we go. So this is ready to work with. So in here, I've got a customer ID, their first name, last name, email address, their location, which seems to be driven by the currency they've paid in, the subscription price. Looks like he's got a £99 and a £59 subscription. Or some people have paid £0. Maybe they're on some kind of like freebie, free trial. Maybe it's the team testing things out. Okay. Then we've got a start date and an end date. Some haven't ended, so they must be live subscriptions. And then we've got some random reference number in there as well. Great, okay. So I'm going to close the document vault. How many unique customers are in the customer report? So let's go back to that spreadsheet. And we can have a look at how many customers are in there. We've got the top 2 rows that are titles. I'm just going to press Control Shift and down, highlight all the rows in the table, just check I haven't missed anything. And it's telling me that there are 824 rows with the count sum at the bottom. So I'm happy there's 824. Great, let's move on. Now, Freddie wants to know how long his customers stay with him. You have suggested calculating, just for customers who've now cancelled their subscription, how long they remained a customer before cancelling. Okay, I suppose in reality, there are two ways to look at this, right? Because he's quite new. You could have customers who started at some point and have finished at some point, and that maybe represents the average customer life cycle. But then maybe because it's so new, some of those people are going to continue for years and years to come. So that might not be representative, but it's really hard to know. So maybe you could also calculate this measure using today as an end date, or the 31st of March, or whatever the report runs up to as the end date as well, and take an average of that. But still, that just assumes everyone's going to cancel their subscriptions on the 31st of March. So it's really difficult to do this kind of exercise. So what we're going to do is work out the average time that someone remains a customer if they have already cancelled. So let's go to the spreadsheet. Do you remember we've got dates in here? So I'm just going to go up to the top, and I'm going to add a new column in of days, and I'm going to do a formula that says equals end date minus start date. That gives me a number of days, but some of these are blank because they've not ended, and I don't want these big random numbers in there. I want that to show a blank. So I'm going to put a formula in there that says if, open bracket, this figure, this cell equals 0, then put a blank in the box. I don't even want a 0 in there, because if it's a 0, Excel sees it as a number and it will start including it in average formulas. If it's blank, it won't even be counted as a cell for working out an average. So I'm going to put in 2 sets of inverted commas, which make it blank rather than a 0. So if the end date is 0, put in an answer of a blank. Otherwise, do the sum of end date minus start date and tell me the number of days. And then I put my close bracket at the end. I've done something wrong. If H10 equals 0, then do that formula. Sorry, let's try again. It's because I'm talking. If this equals 0, then this, otherwise this. There we go. So just highlight that. I'm just going to make sure that goes all the way down. Hello, there's lots at the bottom that haven't cancelled. Great. So that's how many days they were customers. So the question though is in months, right? So we just need to work out what does that mean in months. So let's just do a months column. And I want to say if that may be divided by 30 will give me an average sort of monthly-ish number. But there's some of these are going to be blank, so that will give me an error. So I'm just going to actually say if there's an error, make it a 0. Otherwise, oh no, don't do 0, do blank. Otherwise, do that formula. If error this, then put blank in. Oh my goodness me, honestly. This divided by 30, great. Let's do it on one of the ones that's going to give me an error. Equals if error this, then blank. That's what I wanted to do. Perfect. Okay, so we've got some months. So if I take the average of those months, I have got 4 months. It tells me at the bottom, average months, 4 months. The answer is 4. Great news. Okay. Customers can choose a £59 or a £99 software package. Based on the customer report, what is the average price paid for a subscription by a client? So I've got all these 59 and 99s. So I just want to know the average. So the average, if I just highlight that whole column, is £72. So that's that answer. Now I know the average is £72 and the average customer has a subscription for 4 months. What's the average lifetime value of a customer? So the lifetime value is the money you will earn from that customer from the point that they become a customer all the way through to when they stop being a customer. So for 4 months, they're going to pay me £72. So it's 4 times 72, which is 288 £288. So the answers are, is it approximately 300, 500 or 700? So I'm going to go with 300. Correct. Woohoo. Okay, good. Going into the meeting, I want to share some suggestions with Freddie for how he might make more income. Which of the following would not be a good suggestion for Freddie if he's looking to increase his revenue? Okay, not a good suggestion for increasing his revenue. Right. Increase the price of both tiers for new customers. So the 59 and 99 both increase. So the lifetime value increases for new customers. That makes sense. Unless the rise in price means we lose loads of customers, that it's difficult to know. Is there a tipping point? Is there a competitor that at that point you now wouldn't be competitive and you'd lose loads of new customers? I don't know the answer to that, but in theory, that sounds like a good plan. The next one, make a strategy for customer retention because it's cheaper to retain customers than market to new ones. I agree. So what can we do that could extend that subscription for an additional month? Is it that if people look like they're going to cancel, we get in there with some kind of special offer to say like have 50% off to stay for the next month, or you can pause your subscription or something, whatever's going to get them to stick around. It's easier to sell to them who've already used it and trust the software than it is to sell to other people. So I would say that's a good strategy. Next one, give customers an incentive to switch from the £59 plan to the £99 plan. Okay, yeah. Even a small discount taken up by a fraction of customers has the potential to significantly increase revenue. Yeah, so even if you said, hey, great news, you're a £59 a month customer, we'd love for you to try the £99 a month plan. You can do it for just £10 for the next 30 days. Like, even if you did that, you'd get £10 extra out of your customers who wanted to do that. So yes, I agree. It's like when you see the thing and people give you loads of the features for free for 30 days and then you're like, oh no, I'm going to have to pay for the high subscription. So I think that's a good plan too. So it's got to be this one. Introduce a free trial, 30-day trial for new customers so they get used to using the software. So yeah, I agree. That is not going to give us extra money. Assuming the customers are only going to stick around still for 4 months, if you're giving them a free 30-day trial, that doesn't mean they stay for an extra month. It means they get a month of their 4 months for free. So they pay you a quarter less. So I would say that's the bad strategy. Great. Okay, next section. Next question, sorry. Right. Freddie wants to know whether his customers are coming from the UK or the US. UK or US, and whether they're buying the £59 or the £99 license. He's asked you to give him a brief summary of his revenue for the month of March. Okay. You've decided to create a pivot table so you can present this information to the client in the upcoming meeting. What was the total value of US £59 sales in March? So we need a pivot table to do this. Great. So we have got a big table of data. So we're going to start with this. We're going to highlight all of it. Just to tell you the keyboard shortcuts, I'm pressing Command is the same as Control on a Mac. Command, Shift, arrow to the right, arrow to the bottom. I've highlighted all the data and I'm going to insert pivot table on a new worksheet so I don't interfere with this data. And then it gives me this weird looking thing. And what I want to do is see months, currencies. So months, no, I don't. I want to see VAT prices of subscriptions by currency. And then I just want to pull out the March data from that. So I'm going to put price down the side, the values of the prices as well. That's going to tells me how much £59 licenses I've sold, how much of £99 licenses I've sold. I can just check that as well, you know, because what I can do is go and check that the total of this column of price is 59504. So I can see that 59504 is there. It's just summarized it. I'm just going to rename this actually. USD times 59. Because that's what we want to give him in this table. So, we just want it for March. So now I'm going to filter it by, I wonder if I put it in there. Just want the months bit, really. Sorry, I faffed around with this a bit. I'm just going to change this to just so March. Oh yeah, great. Just show me March. Yes. Right, 4890 is my March number. And I haven't got it in by currency. So I've got the prices of the packages, but I haven't put in the location. I'm going to put the locations as column headers. Great. And then I've got £59 licenses in the US at the £649. 649. Great. And I can probably see, I bet these numbers, it's like one of those exam questions where you know that the other answers have come from if you maybe didn't choose the right thing, like the 396 is the US, but the £99 ones, right? Okay, so 649, good. So we've got, so if we went into the meeting with the client, we could show him that, you know, just from this big list of data of what customers have paid for, you can now see, okay, but how does that break down by currency or package type? And that's a really useful overview that your client probably doesn't know how to do that. Next question. In March, Freddie spent £984 on Facebook ads, and he believes 20% of his new customers in March came from Facebook. Was the £984 spend on Facebook ads worthwhile, and why? So we spent £984 on Facebook ads, and he thinks 20% of his customers came from Facebook. And this is for March. So we've got this data. So in March, he generated £4,890 of new business. We think that 20% of that, so I'm going to just multiply by 20% of that came from Facebook. So we think £978 Facebook sales. But we know that he spent £984 on Facebook ads. So that to me says he really did not do well. So sadly, he actually spent more on ads than he made in sales. So I would say no, his ad spend was more than his revenue. Great. Next question. Freddie feels like he should be generating more than £4,890 in new business each month, and he wants more insight into his revenue trends. You decide to create an additional pivot table that shows revenue from new business in 2024. You create a table that shows the monthly new business totals. Which month had the most new business in 2024? So for 2024, he wants a month-by-month breakdown of his revenue. So I could just use this table. I'm going to just make a copy of it. And I'm going to call it monthly breakdown. And I don't need a filter on it now. But I might want the, okay, so I don't need the location info anymore because I just want totals. I don't even need the price info. I need the price to be my values. I need the months to be my column headings. And I don't want to filter it. I want all of it. Well, I want all of it for the last year. So I guess I don't want January, February, March. It doesn't really matter if it's in there. So June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So I've got all the information. Oh, that was the data from the other table. So I've got all the information by how much he sold in June through to December. How much, which month had the most new business? You know, you can do like max and you could just put all these numbers in it. And it would just tell you 6691 is the maximum if you were lazy or you had loads of data. Or you could do like conditional formatting, couldn't you? You could do like, I don't know, conditional formatting, highlight cells, or the top 10. Oh, I wish I could just do this really quickly. Top 10%, highlight them red. There you go. Look, it puts out the top stuff. Yeah. Right. Anyway, looks like October was the answer. I'm going to say October. Brilliant. So we could talk to Freddie about what he was doing in October and see what was different. And then we might understand something about revenue trends or what's changed. Okay. Right. Freddie now, we're nearly at the end, you know. Freddie now wants to understand which marketing generates the most sales so he can decide on the best marketing campaign for the future. In a chat on the phone, Freddie tells you that he has a file called Sales Source. Request this report from him. Let's do that first. Please send me your Sales Source report. So in the document vault, I've got the Sales Source report. I can download it. Lovely. I'll just open that up. Because I'm on a Mac, it's opened it in Numbers. But I'll copy all that data, go to my spreadsheet. I'm going to put it on a new tab, and I'm going to call it Sales Source. If I was speaking to a client, by the way, I would probably have a really tidy spreadsheet. So I would have like my data, I usually call it raw data, and then I've got like the different questions I'm going to answer. Okay, let's go back to the question. So I've got his sales source data. Let's close that. On the phone, Freddie explained that column A of the sales source document shows a transaction ID that ties up with the customer report you already have, and column B shows the source of the sale. So column A shows a transaction ID. So that is that random GUID, this one. That's a sales ID. And then this is the source of the transaction. Okay, so the source is unknown, or FB for Facebook, web. There's some other ones in there. I noticed that. So the other ones were Alex and Sasha, the influencers, and the web. Okay. Freddie has an assumption that 20% of his March sales came from Facebook, which we remember. Was he correct? So basically, this is a question about where did his March sales come from? Basically, where did his March sales come from? So let's go back to the spreadsheet. So I think what I want to do is put the source in here, because I want to look up this reference in this table, and I want to return this column with the source in it. So I'm putting in a lookup formula, look up this number in this table, returning column 2. So it's telling, I just want to double check this. So this one with this number said source unknown. So I'm just going to do a control find. Oh, it's that one at the top, unknown. Okay. Okay. Just pull all those down. There's loads of unknown ones. Okay. He wants to know about his new business March. So we need to do a new pivot table, or even use this one. Oh no, because we want the March data. Or let's make a new pivot table then. So I'm just going to select all the data, insert pivot table on a new worksheet. Just going to put it to the end because I'm sort of working along, and I want to check March sales source. So I'm just going to call it that. And then I want to see the price. Ooh. Come on. What have I done wrong here? Price. Yeah, got that. Oops. And then we want the start date by month. And we want the source. Okay, so going into my spreadsheet, I've got this table where I'm looking at month by month the revenue source, and I just put in the start months, and then I've got along the top in the columns the source, and then I've got the sum of the price in the values, and it's showing me that for Facebook, his total sales 25,000. I just remember what the text was here. So it says, Freddie has an assumption that 20% of his March sales came from Facebook. Was he correct? So in March, did 20% of his sales come from Facebook? Well, his whole sales were 4890, and his Facebook sales, the column with FB, was 2248. So actually, it's more like 45%. So the answer is no, more like 45% of his sales came from Facebook. So actually, remembering that ads question, you know, we had the £984 ad spend, provided some of those sales were from Facebook, that doesn't seem so bad. But I might also then start asking some questions about, well, actually, though, in February, your Facebook sales were much higher. And he didn't mention anything about doing any Facebook ads in February. So what happened between February and March? So lots of talking points there with the client. Okay, next question. You want to go into your next meeting with Freddie ready to give him some powerful insights on his data and potential for future growth. Which platforms does the data indicate would be worth Freddie investing his time in? So it's asking me about web search, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So let's go and have a little look at this document. So he's getting most of his sales from Facebook and LinkedIn. And then the next source is web search. Then it's his influencers here. So Facebook and LinkedIn is what I would say. So that's my answer. And it says, congratulations, you finished. Now we're in a good situation to have a conversation with Freddie. I've also got, if you want to check your answers in the help section, there is a final data analysis. So if you want to, you can open that and you can see what we've got included in the pivot tables as well. But if you have finished, well done. And you will then get your congratulations, got your score, and you can move on and get ready with your next scenario. Well done. Thanks for joining me along for this one. Bye.